Today we're going to continue looking at one-step equations. We're just going to look at what happens when some things are maybe flipped in a different order or we have some different signs going on. So the first thing that we need to remember, right, is that every time we are drawing our line at the equal sign and we are identifying our variable, right, we're going to notice the operation that we're seeing. No operation at all means multiplication. Right, we undo multiplication with division, so I'm using a fraction bar, right? That's how we write division at this level. Worst case situation, if you need to use a calculator, you could type into your calculator 52 divided by 13. Let's see, I don't have a calculator over here, so that'll be 4. So we'll get z equals 4. All right, if we look at our next one, again, same idea, review from yesterday. We're identifying our variable. We're always looking at the side that our variable is on. We're undoing subtraction with addition, and we are writing that on both sides of the equal sign, right? Those cancel out. We'll get z equals 39. Now, today these orders could be different, which means we won't see everything in a nice, neat, clean order. So there's some new pieces that we need to add. So for example, one of the new rules that we need to add is that for addition or subtraction, we always are going to look in front of the number, right? Addition will still undo subtraction and subtraction, addition, vice versa. But to find that sign, we are going to look in front of the number. And here's what I mean by that. So we're still going to draw our line here and we're still going to identify our variable. So I'm looking at this side of the equation. But now instead of just saying, okay, this is addition and subtraction, I am going to look in front of this 6. This 6 is positive, right? Because remember, we said last unit that we always look in front of the number to determine its sign. So because this 6 is positive, a positive is addition, we will undo that with a negative is subtraction. And I'm going to write that once on each side of the equal sign. So these will still cancel each other out. And this will leave me with a positive x, right? I don't need to write down a positive sign, so that x is just going to come straight down. And then I'm going to take 24 minus 6, which will give me 18. Okay, so same thing on 2. I'm drawing my line and I'm identifying my variable. That's telling me what side of the equal sign to look at. I know I'm in the world of addition and subtraction because I see addition and subtraction. But now instead of just saying, oh, I see addition or subtraction, so I'm going to use the inverse operation, I'm going to look in front of the number. Right? This 12 is negative, which is the same thing as subtraction. So the inverse of a negative is a positive. A positive is the same thing as addition. So I'm writing that once on each side. Right? These are going to undo each other. That leaves me with a positive z. I do not need to write down a positive, so I'll just say z equals 25. Now, things can also be on the other side of the equal sign. So if we do exactly what we were just doing, right, here's our line, but I circle my variable, this is now on the right-hand side. So I want to draw my attention over here to the right-hand side. Now, if I still follow the rule that I was following, I know I'm in the world of addition or subtraction, so I look in front of it, right? That's exactly what we saw yesterday. So I'm going to undo adding 7 by subtracting 7. And I'm doing that once on each side of my line that I made. So these cancel out. 7 minus 7 is 0. So that says 0 equals x. The better way to write this would be x equals 0. To just flip-flop those sides so that we have the x first. Okay, number 4, again, we're going to draw our line. Here's our variable. We're going to undo division. So if I'm undoing division, I'm going to use multiplication. When I multiply, I need to multiply by the same number that I see. So I need to multiply by negative 12. I don't ever want to change that sign in multiplication or division. Right? Multiplication and division, I'm not looking in front of the number. Multiplication and division, I'm just moving the number. So these cancel out. So that leaves me with a y. A negative 2 times a negative 12 gives me a positive 24. Now, this is one that my students struggle with often, so we need to pay really close attention to this. We're going to draw our line, and we're going to circle our variable. Okay, first we need to decide what operation world we are in. Is this addition and subtraction, or is this multiplication and division? And this one is multiplication and division because there is nothing happening in between 3 and x, right? In between is telling us the operation. In between is telling us the operation. And once we know the operation is multiplication and division, right? So we know this is multiplication. We undo multiplication with division. That's our fraction bar. So I'm going to divide by -3. So my -3's cancel. My x comes down. I'll get x equals -7. Number 6, I'm drawing my line and I am finding my variable. Now again, I'm looking in between to decide what world I'm in. I'm in the world of multiplication and division. I only do the in front thing if it's addition and subtraction. This is not addition and subtraction, this is multiplication and division. So I'm looking in between. I see multiplication, so I go straight to my inverse of multiplication is division. Now in this situation, if you pick up your calculator and you type this in, you are not going to get a whole number, right? You're going to get a decimal. It is okay to get an answer that is a decimal as long as you do not round. So in this situation, we would say -6.5. You could say -6 1/2. You could say -13/2. Any of those would be fine, but we do want to rewrite this so our x is first. Number 7 is a little sneaky because you might look at it initially and think, well, this x is by itself, right? But this negative sign is still over here. So that's something we're going to have to get rid of, right? So if I go here and I just circle my x, right, that negative is still in the way. And the piece that we need to know is that when we don't see a number in front of a variable, that number is really 1. So this really says -1x. So again, I'm looking in between. In between is multiplication. I undo multiplication with division. Okay, so my -1's cancel out, and 15 divided by -1 gives me a -15. Okay, number 8, drawing my line, finding my variable. Now again, when I look in between, right, in between I see addition. So I know I'm in the world of addition and subtraction. When I'm in the world of addition or subtraction, I want to look in front of the number. So in front of 4 is a negative, the inverse of a negative is a positive, or the inverse of subtraction is addition. And I'm writing that once on each side of this line, not twice on the same side, once on each side. So those cancel out. I don't need to write down the positive, but I do want to rewrite this so my variable is first. The last thing we're going to talk about is what happens if we have 2 signs in between. And basically the statement is we don't want 2 signs in between. If we have 2 signs in between, we always want to clean them up. Okay, so if they are the same sign, so if we see adding a positive or subtracting a negative, we are always going to change those into addition. If they are opposite signs, so if we see adding a negative or subtracting a positive, we're always going to change that into a subtraction sign. So if I look at this problem right here, right, these 2 signs are opposite signs. I'm adding a negative. I'm adding a negative. So I'm going to clean this up and turn it into one subtraction sign. And then we're going to go back to solving it just how we normally would. And we'll get an answer of x equals 15.